You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
The futures markets can be downright scary. Limit up, limit down. What the heck is RBOB anyway? Are they going to dump a truckload of soybeans on your front lawn if you click the wrong button? Come to think of it, maybe you should just stick to your comfort zone. Or you can break out of it with the Futures Rundown. The Futures Rundown is here to help you make sense of these scary markets. We'll analyze all the top futures trading activity, explore the ins and outs of your favorite products, explain exactly how futures work, and hear from leading experts in the futures markets. We'll even tackle all of your wildest futures trading questions. If it involves futures, then you'll hear about it on the Futures Rundown. Old trading walks into a bar. New trading raises it. That's Tasty Trade. Keep focused with news feeds that matter. See opportunity differently in analysis mode. Chart your heart out with over 300 indicators. Plus, you can get low pricing, lots of education, and a support team that really gets how traders trade. It's no wonder Investopedia named Tasty Trade the best broker for options in 2024. Genius loves company. Go to tastytrade.com/podcasts and see for yourself. Tasty Trade Incorporated is a registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA, NFA, and SIPC. And now, it's time to break into the futures markets. It's time for the Futures Rundown.
All right, everybody, that music means we are back. It is time for the Futures Rundown, the program where we break down everything lighting it up out there in the futures market across the broad trading spectrum around the globe here. In the world of futures, my name, of course, Mark Longo from the OptionsInsider.com, as well as from the network upon which all of you folks were binging last year and continue to do so this year. This January marks our 19-year anniversary, so thanks to all of you who have continued to support the network, however you do so, downloading, streaming, subscribing, rating, and reviewing, of course, supporting all of our sponsors out there as well. If there are no sponsors, there is no network at the end of the day, so make sure if you like what you're hearing on the network, you like the sponsors that are supporting them, make sure you reach out to them. Tell them you heard about them on the network. Maybe check out their product or service. At the end of the day, you might find it intriguing. Of course, speaking of finding things intriguing, you will find the pro and the upcoming Vol Deathmatch very intriguing. TheOptionsInsider.com/pro. Get in there soon if you want to participate in the Vol. You don't have to be in the arena, don't worry, but you get to submit questions and indeed vote on the victor. Which Dr. Vic's still a little angry about that, the way the last one played out. He may or may not hold a grudge against the chat for that one. We shall see. But now it's time for a Just the Facts, ma'am edition of the Futures Rundown, which means it is time to enter the trading pit.
It's time to break down all the action that's lighting up the futures markets this week. What's limit up and what's crashing and burning. Let's find out. It's time to enter the trading pit.
All right, everybody, let's dive deep into the trading pits. See what's lighting up the tape out there this week. Another tumultuous week. Only 3 weeks into the new trading year, the new calendar year. And man, a lot of wild geopolitical stuff going on. Of course, the snatch and grab in Venezuela, week 1. Week 2, we're talking up some conflict with Iran, which, carriers and strike fleets moving that way as we speak. So that's clearly not over. And then, of course, week 3, we're talking all sorts of conflict and trade wars again over Greenland. So again, 3 weeks in. And if you're bored on the trading side, on the vol side, you're not looking hard enough. Let's see what's lighting up the tape out there this week, shall we? To the upside we go. Let's keep things light and cheerful to kick off the show. Number 5 to the upside this week, we're going back to the metals. Just when you think metals can't do what they did last year again. Look at last week, for example. Last week was insane. 25%, somewhere in that ballpark for silver last week. Can we possibly do that again week after week? in the precious metals? Let's find out. Number 5, kicking it off in the shiny stuff, listener. That's why I asked you. Platinum, number 5, up nearly 6% so far for the week, 5.9% to be precise. Number 4, heating oil. It is that time of year. We are seeing a wee bit of cold. I always feel bad I have to do this panel session in Chicago this time of year, and I have people fly in for it all the time, and it's always the worst year weather-wise in Chicago, and it just always happens to coincide with this conference. So a rough time, which is why heating oil coming in at number 4, up 6.25% so far this week. Number 3, just when you think, man, can this freaking metal go up any more? The answer is yes. Silver up 7.6% again this week. Put that on top of the roughly 25% we saw last week, and it's been just a banger start to the year. I think the only thing that's outpacing silver right now is Portillo's, but I digress. Number 2, it's lithium, up nearly 11% so far this week, 10.94%. And the big dog, again, very seasonal this time of year, it's nat gas, up 21.6% on the week. Again, you get a little Arctic polar vortex sweeping through a lot of the country. You're going to see those movers out there this week. Let's go to the downside now, see what's lighting it up. And you know what? Our downside this week is not going to come as welcome news out there to all of the crypto fans out there. So tell you what, let's expand it beyond just the usual suspects. And let's go a little bit deeper because we want to talk about a little bit more than just crypto this week. Plus, we don't want to rub people's pain in it. Let's kick it off. Number 5 this week. It's our old pal coffee. So this might put a smile on your face. If you're a Starbucks aficionado, if you've been suffering for the last year and a half on these outrageous coffee prices, coffee coming back down a little bit this week might put a smile on your face, off about 3.5% for the number 5 spot. Number 4, we're going out to the metals, not the shiny stuff, but the base. We saw a lot of action in copper recently, a lot of upside, some of that coming back down the other side this week. Copper off 4.24%, so pretty much 4.25% on the week. And then number 3, the one that won't bring a smile to a lot of the crypto hodlers out there faces, it's Bitcoin, both the micro and the big futures, both off about 6.75%. Outpacing it to the downside, again, not a thing a lot of crypto aficionados are going to want to hear. It's ETH off about 9.25%. Again, both the big and the micro futures. What is outpacing all of them to the downside this week? Well, it's our old pal cocoa. Cocoa off nearly 15%, 14.85% on just this week. So we've been saying for a while, if you need an alternative hot beverage on your breakfast table and these coffee prices are just not doing it for you, cocoa continues to get cheaper. I don't know if it's healthier alternative. There's a lot of sugar in there. But if you just need a hot beverage at the end of the day, and for whatever reason, tea ain't doing it for you, maybe cocoa is your huckleberry. Out to the world of futures we go today, listeners. Is it a hot Wednesday in the futures market as we're recording this? The answer is it's respectable. Once again, our barometer for respectability is 300,000 contracts. We are a wee bit north of that to break into the top 10 today. Number 10 cost you 336,000 contracts, actually, to break into the top 10. Gets us to our old pal, 3-month SOFR, listeners. Again, 336,000 contracts on the tape for the number 10 spot. Again, above our threshold for respectability. Number 9, keeping it in the rates. It's the Ultra 10-year. Again, 3-month SOFR is the only December contract on our top 10 today as well. Everything else is March, so the rest of the market has already moved on. And again, 3-month SOFR obviously going out to Dece of this year. Dece of last year already rolled off the board, so that's a longer-term contract, obviously. Everything else hanging out the end of Q1 in March. Number 9, it's the Ultra 10-year, 498,000. So to number 9, we already jumped to nearly 500,000 contracts. So it's a decently active day. And again, you could expect that. We've seen a lot of vol, a lot of drama in the markets over the last couple of sessions on the back of all this Greenland back and forth out there. So that is being reflected in the volume today. Number 8 is the 30-year, 505,000 contracts. Number 7 to the equities we go. The Nasdaq E-mini, 593,000 contracts for the number 7 spot. Number 6 to the 2-year we go, 616,000. Then we break into the top 5. We jump up another level on the volume front. Number 5, the 5-year note, 918,000 contracts. So the top 5, you're threatening 1 million contracts to break into that today. So again, no slouch out there today. Number 4 to the equity micro realm we go. Which one is it? It's the S&P micro. 1.25 million contracts on the tape. Number 3 is the big dog E-mini, S&P, 1.43 million contracts. Number 2, once again, the 10-year, fall into number 2, 1.63 million. Is this a trend we're going to see a lot in 2026? Last year, 10-year was the king of the roost. The only thing that could unseat it is the number 1 here today. Yet again, the Nasdaq 100 micro. Again, a micro, so take the volume with a grain of salt, but 2.13 million contracts on the tape out there. So far, at least to start the year, we are seeing the equities out there, the Nasdaq micro, steal the throne. Will that continue throughout the rest of the year? Or is this just a phenomenon located right around this last few weeks because we have seen so much geopolitical vol making its way into the space? Speaking of making its way into the futures market, let's go out there right now. Again, the year is young. So breaking things down year to date, not much data there yet, obviously compared to the end of last year. But it's informative nonetheless to see what trends might be shaping up here for the new year. We talked about it last week on this show and on This Week in Futures Options. Very much the sister program to this one, which, spoiler alert, will be coming up immediately after this one today. So stay tuned for that if you want to talk some futures options. But that said, the narrative so far this year has been rotation out of large caps and tech and into small caps, or at least dialing back on some of the AI trade here in the U.S. Is that being reflected in our year-to-date movers? Let's find out. Again, let's kick things off in the green. Let's keep it positive. Number 5 to the upside this week. And again, for the year, it is Nat Gas. Nat Gas up nearly 13% year-to-date, listeners. 12.8% so far for the year. Number 4, you can probably guess there's a lot of shiny stuff in this list. Palladium up 14.75%. Platinum up 22.8%. Number 2, it's our old pal silver. Yes, something is actually beating silver this year. Surprise, surprise. Silver number 2, 32.4%. And the big dog this year, again, take this one with a bit of a grain of salt, not the most liquid of contracts out there, but it is one of the EMs. It is Lithium, up 42.4% year to date. So a heck of a year for some of these names already just in the first 3 weeks of the trading year out there. Can silver keep this up? What the heck's going on in lithium? A lot of questions floating around the futures market. But to the downside we go now, listen. Number 5 for the year. It was not a great year for this one last year. Looks like it's continuing. It is oats, off about 3% so far year to date. Number 4, outpacing it ever so slightly, is dry whey, also off a little over 3% so far year to date. Number 3, to the ags we go. It is corn, off 4.2%. So we're talking oats before, but corn is really much more of a volume player in the ag markets, obviously. Number 2, back to dairy we go. It is cash settled butter, off nearly 5% so far year to date. And the big loser so far for the year, again, getting back to what we were saying earlier, if you need a hot beverage alternative on your breakfast table, then maybe it's time to start looking at cocoa, off over 25% already year to date, 26.6%. And it wasn't a great year for cocoa last year. So again, if you want a little bit of cocoa, hot, however you want to consume it at the end of the day, then maybe that number pleases you out there, listeners. All right, listeners, we have to get out of here for this Just the Facts, ma'am edition of the Futures Rundown. But don't worry. If you want more in your lives and you're hanging out in the pro, we'll be back instantaneously in your ear holes talking the other side of this coin this week in Futures Options. So if you want to hear how all this futures action, how it's driving and impacting the options market, well, stay tuned for that. Yet another reason why you should be subscribed to the full network. Then, of course, we'll wrap up our broadcast day with the Hot Options Report. Tomorrow going to be a little wild on the network. Not sure how much live we'll be able to do coming from the conference most of the day tomorrow. Connectivity at these events is usually pretty dicey, so we might have to beam in some content to the editors, have them slap it together over there. But either way, we'll have more fun stuff coming at you tomorrow, including the Hot Options Report. And then we'll be back again next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. Another episode of the Futures Rundown. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.